Alright, we are recording again for this would be the 12th story in Grimm's Fairy Tales. Um, The Fox and the Horse. Which, I don't I don't know what the moral is here necessarily. It also feels like it just kinda ends. Um yeah. So story goes like this. Horse is old. It has served its master well, but is old. The master is a peasant. The owner is a peasant. And he's like, yeah, you can't do useful work anymore. So rather than continuing to feed you, leave. And actually runs it out into open country. But also does give it an ultimatum that, yeah, if you can bring a lion back to me, prove your strength that way, then I'll keep you. Like, keep you and keep feeding you. Okay. Yeah, because, you had lions in Europe. Well, actually, no, to be fair, that actually is a fair point. I don't know what they would have for large cats. Not necessarily lions like what you think of for Africa. But they could have. I'm not sure if they may have mountain lions or just other large cats, like a lynx or something, which, depending, since this would have originally been written in German, I could see it, or even from other languages, I could see it just being mistranslated as lion. But it could just be meaning a large cat, a great cat. Anyway. So the horse goes into the forest because bad weather and has some protection from the trees, runs into the fox, and the fox is like, why are you here? Why are you sad? What's going on? What's up? Horse explains it all. And there's even a line about alas, avarice and fidelity do not dwell together in one house. My master has forgotten what services I have performed for him for so many years, and because I can no longer plow well, he give me no more food and has driven me out. I do want to come back to this point, but the alas, avarice and fidelity do not dwell together in one house. Just feel that you're exaggerating a little bit, or potentially are exaggerating, but the fox is like, okay, I understand. Lie down, pretend you're dead. Don't move. I'll be right back. Because fox, I do wonder how old this is as a concept. I can believe that, like, Aesop's Fables has it as well. Foxes are clever animals, and so comes up with a plan. The lion's den is nearby, so actually goes to the lion and is like, hey, there's a dead horse out there. Hungry? Lion's like, sure. Follows out. Getting there. Then the fox is like, yeah, this isn't that great a place to eat. Here, how about lay down near it. I'll tie it to you so you can drag it back to your den and eat it there, where it's much more comfortable. And the lion's okay with this, so lies down next to it, and then the fox proceeds to get tying. Specifically tying the lion up in the horse's tail, including securing its legs so it can't possibly move. And let's see if it'll. It's like that's the image right there, the horse and the tied up lion being dragged, and it's roaring, which is why you've got the birds there. And I did just realize I'm blocking my mouth. The mic is there, and I'm blocking it. Yeah, so you can see the lion there being dragged, very unhappy. It's roaring, causing all the birds to fly away. But it's not free, and the horse takes it all the way to his master's door, who, when the master saw the lion, he was of better mind, and said to the horse, thou shalt stay with me and fare well, and he gave him plenty to eat until he died. I'm not entirely sure what the moral is here, unless it is trying to say that you should treat the horse with better care, which, if it is you need to treat your elders with respect, even if the old man isn't able to be productive in a physical sense. That they still have been productive before, and therefore you should be respectful towards them and care for them. Maybe. I'm not sure on that, if it is supposed to be metaphorical there. Because it's a horse. It is your property. You kind of, if you can't feed it, you can't. If you can't afford to feed it, you can't afford to feed it. Which isn't said. Granted, it isn't said that's the case, but that could be the case. But there's also, it does just end because it's like, what happened to the lion? What did the peasant do? Did he free the lion or did he kill the lion? Because if he freed the lion's gonna eat him. Okay, I'm saying that like the lion would eat him and then, being satiated, walk away, leaving the horse there, and then the horse would have its full. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, what happens with this lion? Yeah, I am not certain. Hopefully it is just basically the whole trying to teach that the things that supported you in that way, that, that is still, if you can, take care of that horse. Take care of the elders who, they're not necessarily able to do much now physically, but I mean, a horse, no, probably wouldn't be able to do much else that would be useful. Well, maybe a few things. Like if you could ride on it, it might be suitable for some people to ride, for some light carrying. Children to ride on it, it depends. Treat it like a pet in that case. For older people, it's they can entertain the children, they can tell stories, they might still be able to cook and do things like that. I mean, there's still value there. But it's also, an elderly person is not property. It's a person. Horse is a person. Horse is property, so it is different. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that we do form relationships with animals, treat them as pets. It can be very hard when they die, then, and all that. But there's still the fundamental reality, they are property. And it's like, you can treat them as better than that. Many people do. I know I have plenty of times, but it is still, there's that aspect of they are property. And we should not totally forget that. Sorry, it's also, there's a video game that I actually reviewed a while ago, and there was one thing that happened in that just annoyed me so much. The Talos Principle 2. There's actually part of me, I'm tempted to replay the game. I think I may have mentioned this before. I'm tempted to replay the game and record it and then edit down to certain sections to go through how stupid some of these story elements are. But the premise is, you and your people are robots that can live hundreds to thousands. It's very uncertain just what the timeline is for some of this stuff. But anyway, you encounter one who, there's the big debate within the community of, should you go out into the world to have an influence on Earth again, or should you just cut yourself off from the world? And encounter one person who is basically saying that, yes, we should totally do that. We should totally cut ourselves off from the world because it's so painful. I've had all these pets and I've had all these pet cats and they keep dying. It's like, dude, you're 500 years old or something. I think they do say they're hundreds of years old. And you're keeping an animal that at most can live to like 25 years old. This is a you problem, okay? You shouldn't, I mean, if you can't handle that loss, stop having pets. It's kind of part of it. It's so annoying because the dude was just so stupid. And also, it's not like I could respond and call him out on the stupidity. Really wanted that. There was others where it's like, I kind of get what you're going for here, who is writing the story, but it's like, it's still a dumb thing that you're doing here. Do it better. There were so many other issues with that game's story, which is such a disappointment. I know, I'm going into a game review here, technically two, but I'd not played the Talos Principle 1 before playing that, prior to it. So I decided, all right, I'll play and review that, and then go straight into playing and reviewing Talos Principle 2. Very glad I did. Talos Principle 1, such a good game. The story is I will describe the way the explanation I give for why a story should be in a game is it gives a reason to continue playing the game. That is its purpose, to keep you playing. In some cases, it's a very simple story, like just save the princess. What's the story? Save the princess. What's the purpose of the game? To save the princess. Why should you continue playing the game? To save the princess. So it is what provides you with the motivation. The Talos Principle, I straight up was doing things not even just because of what the main purpose of the game was, but just because the Milton character, if you will, that you interact with was I just loved interacting with. So like I wanted to keep playing, and this is technically all side stuff, but I wanted to keep playing for that. It was great. I did not care for all the puzzle designs though, because there was some where it's like, why would you ever think this? Like, don't design it that way, design it this way, because the way you have designed, the visual cues are all that, oh, this can't work. And then I look it up in a guide, it's like, no, you are supposed to do that. It's like, why would you ever think that? Talos Principle 2, the puzzle design's a lot better. I think there were like 2 or 3 in the whole of that game that I could not figure out initially. But fortunately there are ways to just cheat it to basically complete. It's in-game. It's an in-game system. Prometheus Sparks, I think it was. And then you can come back and do it correctly later. And I did, where I would then look up a guide, see what it is, and say, oh, okay, I see how. But its story was so inferior to the first one. Oh, man. And by the way, Road to Gehenna, I think is terrible. I think not for the puzzles, but the story, I think is terrible and does damage to the very concept of the first game, but that can be for a different time. Come back to this, which is what I should actually be talking about. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what. I can only guess at the mole. Yeah. I mean, in theory, I might be able to look it up, but again, like when I tried looking at that one other before, it was very annoying because it's like, you're not actually telling me this stuff. You're not giving me the information I'm looking for. Yeah. And it's still, what the heck happened with the lion? I kind of want to know. I don't know. It does also make me wonder one thing. Which, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be able to do it. I am, in case you can't tell, I'm not always that good at talking, not just because of my speech impediment, but, like, even how I describe the stories, like how I describe this one. Even my own stories, I will describe it that way when I'm just talking. So it is one of those, I'm better at writing than I am at talking. So I was just thinking about, what it would be like if I tried to write this story. It's like, well, no, I could never do that. Because fairy tales, they are intended to be oral tradition. I'm not that good at it, though, because I tend to, when I'm just talking, to summarize things or fixate on a specific point and then go through on that, ignoring the fact that I'm maybe jumping ahead of certain things. I mean, it makes... I know I'm weak there, so I'm better at writing, but that's not how you construct fairy tales. But it still is... I appreciate the storytelling, which is why I'm able to criticize it just the same. And it is just what happened to the lion. Because I'm sorry, if I'm a kid and the story is told to me, I'm going to ask that question. So what's the answer, Grimms? Tell me. It's not in here. No. I mean, it does say that they live... The horse continues to be fed until it dies. The lion is a threat, though. So I guess it would have to have been killed. That the peasant would have to have killed it. Yeah. Which in some ways would actually make sense then for how it can even how the peasant can afford to feed the horse. Because I could believe that even if it is just a mountain lion, that some of those could be a great enough threat that if you were to kill a lion and then bring proof to the town, I could believe that there would be a fund where it's like, you've killed this lion, okay, here's a reward, here's a bounty for it, and then that is what feeds the horse. I could believe that. But I don't know. I do not know. Alright, which one's next? Really? Yeah, The Wolf and the 7 Little Kids. Okay, and looking at this image that is a, kids as in young goats. And there's also a pool of water there on this plate. Right there. And there does seem to be something right there as I was bobbing, or at least bubbling there. So I do wonder if that means that they somehow tricked the thing to fall into the pond and drown. But right after that, we get Little Red Riding Hood. What do we get afterwards? Hang on. I'm just going to the table of contents. Okay. Still a decent distance from where we get Snow White and the 7 dwarves. I mean, it's just 7 little kids made me think of that. Alright. See you next time.